Around 1015 CE, a man in Basra built a dark room. He blocked every window, every crack of light, and then he made one small hole in the wall. And on the opposite surface, the world outside appeared, inverted in full color, perfectly projected. He had just explained for the very first time in human history how the human eye works. His name was Ibn al-Haytham. And on that day, he built a dark room, the foundation for modern optics, photography, cinema, and surgery as well. He called it Al-Bayt al-Muslim, the dark chamber, which later came to be known as camera obscura, to demonstrate that light from a scene passes through a small hole and forms an inverted image, proving that light travels in straight lines and validating the intromission theory of vision. 600 years before anyone would catch up. He was a Muslim scientist and by every definition a Muhsin, a person of excellence, as he would go on to write one of the most significant works in optics, the Kitab al-Manazir, the book of optics. Fast forward to today, information is free. The standard of life is much, much higher. Yet, name me a Muslim scientist who changed the world last year. Take your time. Something broke between the dark room in Basra and today. And it is time we talked about what it was. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, salatu salam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We previously explored the Arabic root Muhsinūn. From it is Husn, which is beauty, Ihsān is to do everything with excellence. And from the same root letters is Muhsin, the one who does good, acts with excellence or kindness, the one who embodies Ihsān. As defined in the famous hadith of Jibreel alayhi salatu salam, Ihsān is to worship Allah as if you see Him, and if you cannot see Him, then knowing that He sees you. It is the highest tier of faith, higher than Adl, which is justice, and justice is giving what is due. Ihsān is giving more than what is due and taking less than what is owed. For a Muhsin, the consciousness of the divine is so sharp that it removes the barrier between religious ritual and daily life. Every act, whether writing a book, writing a research paper, or designing a building, becomes an act of worship. That is, of course, if done with the conscious intent that Allah is all-seeing. And Allah says in Surah Luqman, whoever fully submits themselves to Allah and is a doer of good, they have certainly grasped the firmest handhold, and with Allah rests the outcome of all affairs. When Allah's command is Ihsān, He almost never limits it to just rituals, but seek through that which Allah has given you the home of the hereafter, and yet do not forget your share of the world too, and do good as Allah has done good to you, and desire not corruption in the land. Indeed, Allah does not like the corruptors. In another place in the Quran, indeed, Allah commands justice and good conduct, which is Ihsān. And in another ayah, and who is better in speech than one who invites to Allah, acts with Ihsān, and says, indeed, I am of the Muslims. So it's balance, justice, speech, and action, character. Not a single verse narrows Ihsān to the prayer mat, and yet somewhere across centuries of trauma, political collapse, and intellectual retreat, we narrowed it anyway. Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah described Ihsān as the soul of faith. He argued that while the Sharia, that is the Islamic law, provides the skeleton or the basis or the foundations, Ihsān provides the life and breath, which is the soul. We love to mention the Islamic Golden Age, Baghdad, Cordoba, Cairo. We cite these like trophies to defend our pride rather than evidence to confront our decline. Let's look at why they did what they did. Al-Khwarizmi developed algebra because the state needed to solve real-world problems: inheritance, surveying, and business contracts. Ibn Sina, meanwhile, wrote the canon of medicine and said, "I turned to God in prayer and the difficult problems became clear." Al-Biruni calculated the radius of the earth using a single mountain and trigonometry, off by less than 1%. Ibn al-Haytham, our guy from Basra, under house arrest for a decade, in that room wrote the Kitab al-Manazil, the book of optics, which would go on to alter the course of human visual sciences forever. Ihsan is not dependent on circumstances. Even when the situation is dire, one can practice it. Like Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu. During a battle, when someone spat in his face, he left mid-fight and left that person to the companions so that his anger wouldn't get the best of him. Excellence when angered. These were not men who separated their deen from their work. For them, the distinction didn't exist. They reflected on the signs of the universe to make life better for humanity. Their excellence was their worship. And Allah says, "And those who strive for us, we will surely guide them to our ways, and indeed, Allah is with the doers of good." There are 1.8 billion Muslims on this planet, roughly 24% of the world's population. Yet, as of today, the total number of Muslim majority Nobel Prize laureates in sciences, which are physics, chemistry, and medicine, is fewer than 5, most of whom did their work in the West, educated in Western institutions funded by Western research grants. Pakistan has nuclear weapons, but 90% of the insulin its own diabetics need is imported. On average, Muslim majority countries invest less than 0.5% of their GDP on research and development, 1/5 of the levels in advanced economies. This isn't just an economic crisis, it's a spiritual one. The Quran's very first word was Iqra, that is, read. Yet, we have stopped cultivating the curiosity that word demands. Somewhere between the fall of Baghdad and the trauma of colonialism, we traded our culture of curiosity for a culture of caution. The Quran doesn't just suggest observation, it commands the scientific gaze. He who created 7 heavens layered one above the other. You do not see in the creation of the most merciful any inconsistency. So return your vision, that is, look again. Do you see any flaws? Then return your vision twice more, again and again. Your vision will return to you humbled while it is exhausted. And in Al-Imran, Allah says, "Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and earth and the alternation of night and day are signs for people of understanding. Those who remember Allah while standing, sitting, and on their sides, and who reflect on the creation of the heavens and earth." Allah is telling you to tire your eyes out in inquiry. The scientist who abandons God is incomplete, but so is the worshipper who never asks how a cell divides or why a star collapses. A Muhsin is the surgeon who performs with a steadiness that cannot be manufactured by pride, because he remembers Allah is watching every incision. He is the engineer designing water infrastructures for a village because he knows every drop sustained is a sadqa jariyah, flowing charity. As Shaykh Hamza Yusuf notes in one of his old YouTube lectures on Ihsan, Ihsan is spiritual psychology In a world obsessed with quantity, the Muhsin is obsessed with quality. From the architecture of a building to the ethics of a laboratory, a Muhsin seeks the restoration of beauty in a world that has become utilitarian and grey. The brilliance of Ihsān is that it destroys the wall between the secular and the sacred. When a Muhsin seeks the pleasure of Allah, he doesn't just beautify his prayer, he beautifies every space he occupies. The Quran came to teach noble character and what a noble thing to do to be excellent in whatever a person does, be it in a lab, on a drafting table, or behind a lens. تِلْكَ آيَاتُ الْكِتَابِ الْحَكِيمِ هُدًى وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُحْسِنِينَ. These are the verses of the book rich in wisdom, as a guidance and mercy for the doers of good, lil muhsinin. In the eyes of a muhsin, the world is not a distraction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the primary research facility where his love for the Creator is proven. And then in Surah Rahman, Allah honors the people of Ihsan. Hal jaza al-ihsani illa al-ihsan. Is the reward of Ihsan anything but Ihsan? What you give in beauty, you receive in beauty. This isn't just a promise for the afterlife. It is a law of civilizations. When the Muslim world was excellent, the world rewarded it with leadership. When we settled for mediocrity, the world moved on. Today, somewhere right now, a teenager in Karachi or Cairo or Kuala Lumpur is gifted at mathematics or physics. She has been told implicitly that the most religious thing she can do is to restrict her faith to rituals. But what if her mind was the one meant to find the cure? What if her excellence applied to creation was an act of worship more vast than she ever imagined? We do not need to choose between the masjid and the lab. Ibn al-Haytham, in his sealed dark room, did no such thing. The tragedy isn't our history, it's our wasted potential. The Quran makes a promise to the Muhsinūn called the Ziyādah, the increase, وَسَنَزِيدُ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, and we will increase the doers of good in goodness and in reward. Scholars like Al-Ghazali and Dr. Israr Rahimullah explain that this increase is the ability to behold the face of Allah. The logic is simple. The one who spent their entire life trying to see Allah in every calculation, every incision, and every seed planted will be given the very thing they were always reaching for. They spent their life acting as if they saw Him. So Allah, in His excellence, lets them actually see Him. So we must remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promises in Surah Rahman. Hal jaza al-ihsani illa al-ihsan. Is the reward of excellence anything but excellence? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.